Deep in the Amazon rainforest lives the world's biggest river, home to one of the most terrifying animals Mother Nature ever concocted. Traveling in schools, patrolling the waterways for anything that moves. Equipped with razor-sharp teeth able to reduce humans to bones in less than a few seconds. Yes, sir, these are truly the most terrifying— Okay, stop. Narrator, what are you doing? Look, I'm trying to get a better range here. I mean, I'm not even sure if I'm a separate character or if I'm like your disembodied voice or something, so I was just trying to, spice things up. You're fear-mongering, though, and I do not appreciate fear-mongering on this channel. Fine, you could take over then. Sometimes I wonder why I even bother with you guys, I mean, really. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, welcome back to Nightmares of Nature. As always, I'm your host, Mr.G. Today, as you probably could have picked up from that rather ominous narration, we're talking about one of the most feared animals in South America, the piranha. Piranha refers to any fish in the Serrasalamidae family. They're fish, they're omnivores. I can't actually find when they were described to their family, so I just have to leave it blank. And they're found in South America. Now, piranhas have a pretty recognizable and distinct silhouette. They have a pretty typical fish-like body, but they have a pretty shortened face with large eyes, and of course, their ever-famous razor-sharp teeth. And some species of piranha, including the most famous one, the red-bellied piranha, have red bellies. Yeah. Of all the freshwater fish, piranhas are pretty much one of the only few that people can name off the top of their heads, besides goldfish. Yeah, that basically describes most people's knowledge of freshwater fish. They can name goldfish and piranhas, maybe betta fish and guppies. Other than that, river fish just don't exist to most people. They're just fish. Okay, I'm getting off topic. Now, with piranhas, basically, here's how the general idea of a piranha is. Terrifying creature, apex predator, rips anything to shreds in mere seconds. But, that is just not how piranhas are at all. Let's start with their schooling behavior. Yes, piranhas travel in schools, but that is not an attack mechanism, it's a defense mechanism. Piranhas travel in schools for the same reason as any other fish, for protection, because it's harder to get picked off if you're in a large group. Additionally, piranhas don't have that much power in the food chain. You see, piranhas are actually omnivores. They're perfectly willing to eat pretty much anything edible, including plants. And as for the predator thing, they actually mostly eat things that have already died, since those don't put up a fight, do they? And as for the apex predator thing that media likes to portray, no. Piranhas are actually very low on the food chain in the Amazon, and basically any predator that can swim has snacked on them. They're eaten by caiman, anaconda, jaguars, other fish, diving birds, and even dolphins. So yeah, piranhas are actually pretty— what's the word? Pathetic. Yeah, I said it. So, if that's the case, why do piranhas have such a fierce reputation? Well, I'll get back to you on that when we get to the human relations section. But for now, just know, piranhas are not the bloodthirsty killing machines that rule over the Amazonian waters, as basically every piece of media would have you believe. Overall, I'd say that piranhas easily have probably the worst reputation among all fish, and I am including sharks in that statement. Why do I think piranhas have a worse reputation than sharks? Well, it's pretty simple actually. Sharks are in fact apex predators, so it's a bit understandable where people's fear of them comes from. But piranhas, as I said earlier, piranhas are ridiculously low on the food chain, so people being afraid of them is a lot more ridiculous, if you catch my drift. Well, let's look at the card now. Hopefully it won't be fearmongery. And it's fearmongery. That's great. Okay, before I absolutely tear this card a new one, let's look at some smaller things. First of all, They clearly chose a red-bellied piranha to portray here, but the genus given, and for some reason they only picked one genus, even though, as I said earlier, piranhas are a family, is the Cerasalamus genus. And the piranhas in that genus do not look like the typical piranha, especially not red-bellied piranhas. So yeah, that's an error right there. Secondly, as I said earlier, this card is very, very fear-mongery. It basically gives off all the typical, "Ooh, piranhas can rip anything to shreds in mere seconds. The most dangerous creature in the Amazon" spiel. It refers to their schools as death squads, which is lovely. And it has a picture of piranhas killing a cute animal. Are you scared yet, kids? Honestly, this card definitely annoys me. In fact, as we'll see later on, Nightmares of Nature is easily the most fear-mongery of the card groups for reasons we'll look at when we get to later animals. Also, I'd just like to point out that this card references an incident where a boat overturned in the Amazon, and unlike the bull sharks and the Ganges claim, I actually could find this incident. And yeah, there was an incident where 300 people died in the Amazon. However, blaming all of the deaths on piranhas is a very outdated claim. Nowadays, most people think that those people died either by drowning, other predators like caiman or things like that, and maybe some of them were killed by piranhas, but not all of them were. We definitely know that for sure. So for fear-mongering, I give this card a 3 out of 10. Now, as you could tell throughout this entire video, piranhas have an absolutely dreadful reputation among humans, and as I just said, it's easily the worst among all fish. So, where exactly did piranhas get this reputation from? I'm glad you asked. In the early 1900s, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt went down to South America for a visit, and there he saw a cow be reduced to bones in just a few minutes when it was dipped into a water full of piranhas. And as such, when he reported on that, everyone started associating piranhas as the fish that can tear apart anything in mere seconds. The problem with the story, though, is that scenario was very, very artificial. First of all, there were a lot of piranhas in the area where they dumped the cow. A lot more than usual piranha schools consist of. Secondly, those piranhas had been starved, as in they weren't allowed to eat for days. So how do you think a predatory animal would react if after a few days of not eating they were suddenly given a cow? I'm pretty sure most animals would react that way. Pretty sure if you dumped a cow in a room with starving cats, the same thing would happen. Actually, I'm pretty sure the same thing would happen if you dumped a cow in a room full of starving humans. But anyway, that story became famous, piranhas became feared, and blah blah blah. You probably know the rest if you've watched this video. Not helping matters is how piranhas are portrayed in media. There are plenty of movies where piranhas are the bad guys, lots of video games where piranhas are enemies, inspired by piranhas are enemies. Yeah. And in media, piranhas will often be portrayed very, very inaccurately. The most common errors are them being misplaced. Piranhas only live in South America and the Amazon. However, according to media, piranhas live in every single river in the world. Oh yeah, and they're also saltwater fish, so that they can interact with things like sharks. Because a piranha would definitely kill a shark. I mean, it's not like piranhas are only like a foot long and sharks are larger than humans. Yeah, a piranha would definitely attack them. But I suppose this raises the question, has anyone ever actually been killed by piranhas? Well, I'm not denying that. After all, people have been killed by basically every predatory animal. And there have definitely been piranha attacks on humans, but it is nowhere near as big as you might think. In fact, we don't have a good idea of how many people were objectively killed by piranhas. There have been cases of people seeing piranhas eating dead bodies, but it's very possible that those people died of drowning and the piranhas were just feasting on their corpse. After all, if you see a vulture feeding on a corpse, do you just assume the vulture killed the animal? No, you don't. And even the incidents where you can guarantee a piranha killed people are so few and far between that it's almost not even worth acknowledging. That's not to say you should swim in rivers with piranhas. There's definitely other stuff in there you should be worried about, like all kinds of germs and caiman and things like that. Oh, and also be careful of trash pools. You see, in some regions, the natives local to those areas will often dispose of organic waste by dumping them in areas that are cut off from the rest of the river full of piranhas, and as such, the piranhas in those areas have associated anything falling into the water with food and will instantly attack. So, whatever you do, be careful of trash pools. And also, just keep your hands away from a piranha's mouth. There have been cases of people losing toes or fingers to them. Okay, now that we've talked about how piranhas are absolutely feared by humans, let's talk about something a little more positive. Piranhas are pretty popular in zoos and aquariums. Pretty much every aquarium I've ever been to has had them, and even a few zoos, if they have a South American exhibit, tend to have them. And those usually aren't as fear-mongery. In fact, almost every zoo I've ever been to has actually tried to discredit the ferocity of piranhas by having signs indicating that they're not actually as aggressive as you think. In addition, you can also get piranhas as food, and people who've had it say that they actually taste pretty good. I don't know what else to add to that statement. Finally, piranhas are actually a decently popular aquarium pet, although they're recommended for experts since they can be a bit difficult to take care of. If you keep them, make sure to have a lid on their tank. Piranhas are known to jump out of water, and if they do that in the middle of a living room, you can probably guess what'll happen to them. Maybe someday piranhas' reputations will get better. Maybe people will realize that they're actually very shy fish that only attack under very specific circumstances. I mean, sharks are slowly regaining their reputation, but I feel like piranhas have a long way to go. But hey, hang in there, little guys. You'll get your chance to shine someday. I hope. Well, that's all for this episode of Nightmares in Nature. Next time we'll be talking about a river animal that should have piranhas' reputation. Bye!